Hi guys, welcome back to Game Things. I'm your host for the week, Ming, and today we'll be covering first things first about Volition Games. So Volition Games, the studio behind Saints Row and Red Faction, has been shut down due to Embracer's group restructuring. So this honestly is not a very good news for people because while yes, the most recent Saints Row wasn't great, but the studio had in fact produced some pretty good hits, including Saints Row 3, Saints Row 4, Saints Row Get Out of Hell. A lot of players did want to see the olden day Saints Row come back, and unfortunately now, with the studio being shut down, we might never see it again. So yeah, overall, not exactly good news. Continuing on with, well, unfortunate news, Sony has announced that PS Plus will get a significant price increase starting from 6th of September. And this price adjustment supposedly will enable them to bring more high quality games and value added to PS Plus subscriptions. For the most basic PS Plus subscription, the increase is a whopping $20, going from the original $59.99 to now $79.99. The extra PS Plus version is a whopping $40 increase, going from $99.99 to $134.99. Same goes for premium, it's also a whopping $40 increase, going from $119.99 to $159.99. Honestly, if you ask me, I would say that no shot you have to pay close to $80 just for PS Plus because damn, $80 for a freaking year is a lot of money, and I personally don't think it's too worth it. Because PS Plus, while yes, they do give you some quote unquote free games based on your subscription, it's kind of hit or miss. You can get some AAA titles, but like I said, it's random. You don't really get to pick or choose what sort of games you get. It's just as of when it's available. Hopefully, the supposed extra benefits that Sony is going to bring can really, really justify these massive price changes because, damn, based on what I see right now, I highly doubt that people will continue to subscribe PS Plus when their current subscription expires. Moving on to Final Fantasy XVI, we do have some news about it, starting off with a brand new free update that allows alternate outfits for Clive, Jill, and Torgal, as well as a brand new weapon for Clive. Aside from the announcement of the free upgrade, they also announced that a PC release is confirmed. As for when exactly we'll get the PC release, we do not know. Not only that, there is also news that for Final Fantasy XVI, there is two DLCs that are currently being developed. And I would say that is pretty good news because I myself have played Final Fantasy 16 and I think it's a pretty good game and the story is not bad as well. So I'm really interested to see what sort of new mechanics and stuff like that the DLCs can bring and what sort of new stories we can explore in this brand new Final Fantasy title. Next, we'll move on to Mortal Kombat 1. So Mortal Kombat 1 will be playable 5 days early for the players who buy the premium edition. And let me tell you, if you did in fact buy the premium edition, I would say you guys will feel quite happy to be able to play an additional 5 days. Granted, I'm not sure if the extra cost to get a premium edition is worth playing the game 5 days earlier, but hey, it's still a extra benefit for people that bought the premium edition because let's be real, Mortal Kombat 1, based on what was showcased so far, is a really, really sick fighting game. It looks really nice and the graphics look great as usual, and the mechanics are just stellar. So yeah, being able to play 5 days in advance could be cool, I guess, for some people. I mean, for content creators, it's definitely great. For competitive people, it's definitely great news. But for the general public, it's something that you can live without, Getting early access 5 days in advance, not that big of a deal. Please do not pay a premium if you can't afford it or if you're just not interested in getting a premium. It's really not worth it. 5 days advance is not worth the additional price. Next, we'll move on to some rather interesting news, starting with Valve. So, Valve has actually announced that they have banned thousands of Dota 2 smurfing accounts. The number is about 90,000, supposedly. And in the future, main accounts belonging to players found to be also operating Smurf accounts will also be permabanned. So yeah, this is a really drastic move because for one, I personally don't really think it's too bad of a thing to have a Smurf account. Now, because like let's say I'm a general player and I just created one additional account so I can play with like lower elo friends or something like that, then I don't see that as a really big issue. But if you're talking about players that deliberately smurf in the sense that they are, let's say, top of the MMR and they have 5 or 6 Smurf accounts and that person just grinds all his other Smurf accounts to get them all to like a high MMR, then yes, I can see that being as a very toxic thing because you're basically ruining the player experience for all the lower elo people. But is it really bannable? I don't know, it's really up for debate because I do see pros and cons to having a Smurf account, and I can see why people have one as well because let's be real, if you are a high ranking player, there are a lot of games that have a lockout feature where you can't play rank because you guys are too far apart in rank. So yeah, I mean, this is something that people this is one of the reasons why people create Smurf accounts, and I can see why, which is really cool that actually Valorant has uh open queue, I think. You can literally play with friends that are really, really low elo, despite the fact that you are super high elo, just that, well, your friends will have to play against people that are on the same elo as you. I honestly think this method is way better. At least, it's fair for like everyone, so you don't ruin like other people's experience that are on lower elo. And yeah, should smurfing be a bannable offense? Do let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. And yeah, maybe we can dive deeper into this topic in the future. Next, we'll talk about one of the most popular titles released this year, Stray. So Stray has announced that they are getting a animated film adaptation and it will be led by Annapurna Animation. So yeah, Stray was one of the best-selling titles this year, and a lot of people were excited for it, and a lot of people enjoyed it as well. So it's good to see that it's getting a film adaptation, and people will be able to be exposed more to this title, and perhaps even potentially enjoy this really great title even more. Now we move on to some delays, starting off with Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remastered, which has been delayed to 2024. Then Alone in the Dark has also been delayed to 16th of January 2024 because they do not want to compete with some of the heavy hitters releasing in October. So yeah, that's all the delays we have. Next, let's talk about some releases that you are getting this week. So the first title that I will talk about is Starfield, available on PC, Xbox One, Xbox Series S and X. So Starfield is one of the brand new titles released by Bethesda. And similarly to Fallout, there's a lot of things that you can do in the game, just that unlike Fallout, it's not in a post-apocalyptic setting, whereas it's in, well, space. But because it's a Bethesda game, you can of course expect to see a lot of janky ass bugs, as per usual. Most noteworthy negative comment about Starfield is that the game takes pretty long to ramp up, meaning that it takes a pretty good amount of time before the game actually starts to not get boring. So, if you're looking for something that immediately makes you feel hooked to the game, then Starfield is probably not for you. But if you're looking for something that after spending around say 12 hours or so, then you can potentially be hooked for 10 to 20 times more than what you invested in initially, then yes, Starfield would be something that you guys can look into. Next, we'll move on to our next title, Fae Farm, available on PC and Switch. So, as its name suggests, Fae Farm is a farming game. So, what makes this game special? Well, first off, it's one of those magical farming games. So similar to Sunhaven, you have magical aspects inside it. And aside from using this magic to ward off enemies like most other farming games out there, you can in fact use this magic to actually help you with your crops, which is something that I don't think we see too often. I'm not sure if it's unique to Fae Farm, but I do know that it's not something you see regularly. Aside from that, the graphics itself really remind you quite similarly to Animal Crossing, but instead of the more lighter colors of Animal Crossing, Fae Farm in general offers a slightly darker tone, a slightly darker color scheme. But of course, it's not dark to the extent whereby it's like a horror game type of dark, but it's just not as pastel as compared to Animal Crossing. And of course, considering the fact that it's on PC and Switch, there will be multiplayer and you can enjoy the multiplayer with a lot of friends as well. So yeah, that's definitely a plus. The last title we'll be covering is Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis, a mobile game available on iOS and Android. So, why are we covering this title? So one, it's because Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis is actually a gacha game, and because, well, it features Final Fantasy VII characters. So what makes people hyped up for Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis? First things first is because FF7 Ever Crisis will actually feature the backstory of our main baddie, Sephiroth. So yes, we actually get to see the Edgelord himself when he was younger. So that is a perspective that no other FF7 title has ever covered before, and it will only be available in FF7 Ever Crisis. Aside from that, there's also other story aspects that we'll be exploring as well in FF7 Ever Crisis, so that's something that a lot of players can look forward to. Since it's a gacha game, people just like gacha in general, getting the high of rolling into your favorite character, your favorite weapon, so on and so forth, so I'm not going to elaborate more on that. One other thing that FF7 Ever Crisis has is a costume feature. So you can actually dress up the main FF7 cast in various different costumes. And you can see them in action in all these different costumes. And as well, in FF7 Ever Crisis, there are exclusive costumes as well. So now let's move on to our last and final segment, Free Things. So this week for PS Plus subscribers, you guys are getting the brand new Saints Row, Black Desert Traveler Edition, as well as Generation Zero. For subscribers of Prime Gaming, you guys are getting Football Manager 2023, Ozymandias Bronze Age Empire Simp, Absolute Tactics Daughter of Mercy, Dexter Stardust Adventure in Outer Space, Shotgun King The Final Checkmate, Unsolved Case Murderous Script Collector's Edition, as well as 100 Days Winemaking Simulator. Then, for all you PC players, Epic Games Store is giving out Spelldrifter, so be sure to claim all these games while they are still available. And that wraps up our episode for this week. Once again, I was your host, Ming, and I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we will see you guys in another episode of Game Things next week.